Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to VUX World, the practical Voice First podcast where each week we take you a step closer to Voice First success by getting into detail in the areas of Voice First strategy, design and development. What do you think of the new intro, Dustin?
Gotta keep people on their toes, Kane.
Exactly. And today's episode, boys and girls, is going to keep us on our toes as well, because what we're doing today is we're taking the opportunity to raise our head up out of the sand and to take a breath. We're going to swim to the top of that Voice First ocean, stick our head up out on the surface and have a little bit of a step back to see quite how far we've come in 2018 and to look ahead for the rest of 2018 and beyond to see where the opportunities are for brands, for designers, for developers, for the whole voice ecosystem. And the Voice 18 Summit happened last week, and we're going to use that as the catalyst and as the focal point for essentially a mid-year review. And if you weren't at the event, don't worry, because today we'll take you through some of the main talking points and some of the key takeaways from the event. And to help take us through it, we are joined today by top German agency 169 Labs, and we're joined by the two co-founders, Tim Kahle and Dominik Meißner. Tim, Dom, welcome to VUX World.
Hello, hi.
Hey, everybody.
How is it going over there?
A little bit hot and damp, and we are hoping to have a chilly thunderstorm later this day to cool everything down here.
There's a thunderstorm literally brewing outside of my window right now, so if there's any background sound effects, it's not me tampering around with Alexa, it's a genuine thunderstorm happening outside. It has been roasting over. It's been roasting over here as well. But welcome, chaps, to the podcast, and welcome, Dustin, as well. Have a guess, chaps, how long the podcast has been going for now? Shout out, don't wait. Don't leave me hanging, chaps. Come on. Dustin, how long's the podcast been going for? Have a stab.
What has it been? It's been since February at least, right? So about 6 months.
Yeah. What did you say, Dom?
It's the first birthday?
It's not quite the first birthday. Dustin is right. It's 6 months. So it's been going for 6 months, which it feels, I mean, time has absolutely flown. So what I kind of wanted to do with this episode and with you guys was to, obviously the Voice Summit happened last week and you were all there and I wasn't. I'm still here at home awaiting the arrival of our baby. But I thought we could use this as an opportunity to sort of take stock of where we've been over the last 6 months. So when I say we, I mean the Voice First community, and what's been going on and all of the kind of news and things that we've learned, and then looking forward over the next 6 months to see where we should be focusing. But before we start, Tim and Dom, do you want to kind of each give us a bit of an introduction about yourselves and tell us about 169 Labs?
Yeah, for sure. So actually, I'm Dominik. I'm the CEO of the co-founder of the company 169 Labs. We founded the company 2 years ago. And our company main purpose is creating Alexa skills in Google Actions, and we are kind of a full service agency. So we start off early in the design process, find out which products or services of your company are able to be transferred into voice, make a voice strategy, flatten that out, and then from there on define products that can be used in voice, do all the UX and voice UX design process, and then afterwards move everything into source code and release the skills and actions and do some marketing and research and improve them over the time in the next few cycles. And that's what we do all day.
Yeah, and me, I'm Tim. I'm the second co-founder of 169 Labs, and I'm in charge of all the design stuff and marketing efforts we do to get new clients, to build the community and to strengthen the community relations to other developers and people like you.
Wicked. Sounds good. And so last week was the Voice Summit, and Dustin, you were there as well. How was it?
Oh, it was fantastic. I think I'll have to recover over the weekend. It was 3 straight days of talks and meeting people and seeing what is out there. And if you compare it to even obviously the Smart Voice Summit it's grown so much even just within those 6 months.
Yeah, I think it was really impressive how many people showed up and came to attend, how many panels there were to discuss various aspects of being there, meeting everybody that you might have known only from Twitter or the socials, and now meet everybody face to face, have a chat, have a beer, and see what their ideas are and thoughts for the future.
Yeah, I absolutely agree to Dominik. It's been very, very well organized by the guys from MoDev, and we really enjoyed being here and to get new perspective and new angles to all this stuff that has been going on for the last couple of months, and get some visionary thoughts and views into the future of voice. It's been absolutely amazing.
Fantastic. And for those that weren't there, including myself, there's been a lot of action on Twitter. I've been following it religiously on Twitter over the last week. It's been so entertaining. So we thought we'd kind of delve a little bit into what happened there as a way of trying to kind of understand where we are as an industry, and particularly to share some stuff with the people that weren't there as well. Dustin, you were saying there that the in comparison to like the Smart Voice Summit in Europe, it's grown so much. Kind of what about it has grown, sort of thing? Like, where do you see either things have expanded, or what in particular do you think has gathered sort of traction over the last 6 months?
I think there's a few things, right? There was certainly more of the ecosystem at this conference around people building the pickaxes, the people building tooling for voice. So you saw that in the expo hall, for example. And the expo hall is certainly not where some more established industries are. I think next year you'll see twice as large, twice as many customers or twice as many companies who are building tooling for voice. And then I think you saw a lot of people as well, more on the business side, who are starting to see that there is a business case for this. So, us, we're designers, we're developers, and we're getting in early. But now I saw a lot of people who are in marketing, for example, or just, generally on the business side, who go, okay, this is something I really need to start paying attention to.
Is that kind of echoing what you found, Tim and Dom?
Yeah, I think I have the same impression. The exhibition hall was really great on many companies that show up that haven't been in the landscape 1 year ago. Some established were there as well, like the Bespoken Tools guys that have been there pioneering the voice industry since the last years. But other companies that I haven't heard before and that have great products that now support building stuff for voice application development. And I think like the growth also is in companies attending the conference. That what was impressive to me, because it wasn't only people who are building skills or closely related to the industry. I have seen so many badges with company names that I haven't associated with voice yet, and they probably will be moving in this field. For instance, there were people from Salesforce and companies like these. I'm pretty sure they're just early adopting the strategies for moving into voice over the next couple of years.
I've seen a lot from Panasonic as well on Twitter. Looks as though Panasonic are doing something or other in that kind of space. Did you see much of them at the conference?
I think they had an engagement as a partner of the conference so far, but they just tuning into the whole ecosystem as well, because they have a strong brand in home entertainment, and that's where we want to get everybody like being in the homes of all the people that are using technologies like smart speakers, and so they just figuring out to what their opportunities can be in the future, and so they really had a strong presence there.
Yeah, and Panasonic's U.S. headquarters, I believe, is in Newark, which is where the conference was. So I think there's a little bit of that tie-in as well. This this conference at times felt almost as much about how great Newark was as in terms of voice. It's a city that definitely wants to put itself on the map, and so you saw a lot of those local businesses coming in and trying to reach out to people who didn't necessarily think of this city as a destination for tech.
Mm. And you were talking about in the expo hall being a lot of different types of tooling. We'll come in onto talking about the businesses that were there and what they might have learned. But just briefly, in terms of the tooling that's out there, I mean, Dustin, I know you like getting your sleeves rolled up and getting into the code side of things, and Dom, it sounds very much similar to you, that you think it sounds as though you like to kind of get into the code mix kind of thing. But was there anything there that either of you and Tim as well on the design side? Any other tools that you weren't aware of going into the event that you now come out of the other end kind of wanted to take a bit of a closer look at?
I think there was one. There were no tools, I'll say, that I didn't know about that I am now like geared up to use. But one that perhaps not many people know about is Applause. Applause is a company that's been around for a while, and they do UX testing. They do user testing. And they have a pretty robust voice testing setup now. And it's something that I've looked into before. Haven't had the chance to use just yet, but it's on my to-do list. And that's something that, especially as brands get to be more into voice, they're going to want to test this with as many different accents and ways of speaking and getting this in front of actual users. And Applause can be a really good tool for that.
Yeah, I've seen a webinar they've done recently with Bespoken, so it looks as though they're partnering with Bespoken, I think, on some things. Tim, Dom, anything that you found there, tooling-wise, that you're kind of interested in taking a look at after the conference?
Actually, yeah, I totally agree about the testing aspects. That's I think one main part in our agency that we came up with, because when we develop skills for clients, it is really important to have a good quality in our skills, and quality assurance is one part that we really put effort on. And we found out that this part hasn't been covered very well by tooling or other techniques yet in voice, due to the natural testing process that has been done on devices. And I see like companies like Applause, Bespoken, and also Jovo with their testing framework moving into the space and making quality assurance way easier for us to do. And I think this is one part of the process that we will really try to improve over the next 3 or 6 months.
What were you doing testing-wise kind of before? It sounds like there's two sort of testing things. So one is your technical sort of testing, the other is the usability side of the testing. What were you doing kind of previously? Were you using Bespoken or anything like that, or what were you doing testing wise on the skills that you've done?
Actually, we had a mix of every tool in our lab over the past 6 months. So we tried everything out, and we didn't find like the one tool that fits all our needs. So that's why, deciding on every project new, we would put one of these tools into production.
In total, there were like a mixture of different companies there in the expo hall. There were like Earplay as well, showing up as a studio for voice experiences. And I've seen maybe in total 4, 5, or 6 tooling platforms. So from that perspective, and I've not seen any tooling stuff that might improve my work at the moment, I would say, because I asked in my presentation, I asked the audience who's already in the voice business and who has already experience in creating voice apps, and there were like, I would say 60%, 70% who have no experiences yet. So I think for them it's more important to know how to approach voice and what can which improvements can bring voice in my customer journey, or regarding my digital strategy for my own company. So I think for them it's important to know about the tooling stuff and software and finding the right agency for their project is step 2, and it will happen maybe in the next month or so. Yeah.
I am Kahle. I come from Hamburg in Germany, and right now I have started my own business doing conceptual development and development of applications for voice in those European markets.
Okay, great. And what are your main takeaways from the last 3 days at Voice?
My main takeaways from the last 3 days is that there are some industries that are extremely excited about voice, which is healthcare, senior care, financial industry. I am personally also very excited about all the content that can be reshaped specifically for voice. I want to really take with me an idea that was presented by the agency RAIN, that when you think about voice, you really need to think in systems rather than in exclusion and sort of isolation when thinking about like applications.
For those people listening who, I know there was 2,500 people there or something like that, but there's probably a lot of people that are listening to this that weren't there. I know you've shared your slides, and if you would like, we can share those with the listeners if they want to take a look. But do you want to give us just a bit of a run through of some of the key points that you were making in your talk?
Yeah, I did, because my presentation was on the last day of the conference. I did a quick wrap up of the most important figures and numbers that everybody heard maybe twice or 3 times over the days. But I did a wrap up of that, that everybody has in mind that there will be 50% of searches is done by voice in 2020, the numbers from Comscore, and all these numbers by the people from VoiceBot, like that. There will be much more penetration in the markets, even in Europe and in the US as well, of course, and that big companies or big entertainment companies like NPR already have their numbers rocketing to the sky, and that's what I think what can encourage all people there, that they see, okay, this is worth to work in this area and to be aware of it and to do the first steps right now and learn with the platform and grow with the platform and grow with the reach of the platform as well. So that was like my introduction in my presentation, and the second part were about the industries that we think are the most promising ones regarding finding new products or bringing their products into different everyday situations, like being at home or being in your car or on your maybe at work. So the media industry, and I talked about education and the gaming industry and automotive. And I shared some insights from our work that we've done in the European market and showed that the things are working. So I demoed two skills there as well, because my approach is like not only talk about everything, but showing some magic as well.
Living on the edge with some live demos there. I hope it went all right, did it?
It worked perfectly. Yes.
Classic. It's interesting you mentioned the NPR. So you sent us the slides over, which is really cool. So it looks like from NPR, November 2017, their live streaming share on Alexa looks like it was at 3.9%. I'm not entirely sure what their live streaming share means. Maybe you can explain that in a sec. But in February 2018, they've seen a 242% rise in their live streaming on Alexa.
Yeah, and I have been to the NPR panel where they discussed these numbers in detail, and they showed another slide where they were showing that usage or listening to NPR via smartphone and tablet is on the decline. And now listening via smart speaker is even at, I think, around 30% with smartphone and tablet usage. And AM and FM radio, which when I grew up were the main sources of radio, they, I think, are around 10% of their usage and on a decline as well. So it's really impressive how smart speakers profit, the radio industry can profit from the usage of smart speakers and develop their skills and programs over voice.
So we were at the Smart Voice Summit, Dom, weren't we, in London a few weeks back, and there was a guy, Hannes Ricklefs from BBC, he was talking about the technical architecture of the BBC skills, and he was literally saying the very same kind of thing, wasn't he, in terms of how the BBC's engagement on Alexa has just completely went through the roof. And I can't remember the exact figures. I don't know if you can remember, Dom, but I know the number 17 was in there, and I can't remember if he said it was 17 million engagements over either a month or a year. I can't remember what it was now, or 17,000. I can't remember. Can you remember them stats or not?
Yeah, I remember. I can't remember exactly what the key message was. It was skyrocketing through the roof. That's what I remember. The exact figures I don't remember. And I remember one quote he said that Alexa is the revenge of radio. So radio has a renaissance now with new technologies. And I like that statement.
But the good news are that Hannes will also join our conference in October. So
really?
Maybe he will repeat or update his figures, and everyone who will attend this our conference will get these insights. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So let's you've kind of led us segued nicely into the conference in October. let's chat about that, and then we'll get into Dustin's talk as well. So tell us about the conference in October.
We now have definitely a role model. That's of course the Voice Summit here in New York. I mean, we maybe will only be close to 2,000 attendees, we will do the All About Voice conference. It's a whole day experience in October in Munich, the home and heart of beer and pretzels in Germany. And it will be as well an international event, and with a strong focus on business relations. So it's a B2B event, and we will have around 250 people in the audience there, and amazing speaker lineup with Karen Koshansky from Switzerland, who's a design expert in creating voice experiences. Jazz Williams from the UK, Hannes Ricklefs, as I mentioned. Some guys from German companies as well who have experiences in creating voice experiences, and last but not least, we will have Max Amordeluso from Amazon. He's the chief evangelist EU in the Alexa Skills Kit team, and he will be our headliner, and he will talk about the monetization opportunities in voice apps. So it will be a great day, and we want to build up the European community, but on a business side. So the whole developer education stuff is very well done by the platform themselves, and we want to bring the companies together and talk about the future of voice technology there.
Tim, what are you seeing in Germany necessitating this kind of conference now?
Pardon?
What are you seeing in Germany in terms of the growth or in terms of the demand that calls for this new conference?
We are convinced that this is absolutely the right step. We already thought about it last year, but with these developments in the past 6 months and the growing demand in our agency for projects from large companies and larger companies in telecommunication business, in travel, in hospitality, and the media landscape. We think it's now the right time to get everybody in one room and tune them in, what impact voice will have in the next years. So we will do the first one in Germany. It's hosted in Germany, and we are absolutely sure that it will be a recurring event over the next years, and that we maybe will have some kind of editions in other cities from Germany, or with a different focus, maybe developer related as well, or stuff like that. And we are curious to see what the outcomes will be there.
Cool. And who would be the ideal person to go to that conference? So from the listeners listening to this, who is this conference for predominantly? Who you're looking to try and help out?
Our idea is that people who are basically interested in new technologies, in new digital technologies, they can attend. But I think most of the attendees will be chief marketing officers, digital lead persons, or project or product managers in a digital business, and all the people that maybe can also decide something, or decide if their company will put more focus on it in the future. So our idea is, our goal is that the people who will leave this event, that they know that they have to be aware of voice technology in the future, or that they can learn from these experts we have on stage, and who already maybe had some pitfalls or discovered pitfalls in creating voice apps, and that you can learn from these people. Yeah.
Fantastic. And you did mention that there will be some lucky tickets going to some lucky VUX World listeners.
Yes. I mean, we recently announced that VUX World will be the media partner, one of the media partners of What Voice Conference. And of course, we want to encourage your listeners to come across and to join the conference. So we will do a draw, and we will have 2 tickets for your listeners that you can win. And we will have, of course, as well a voucher, a discount code that you can use to get 10% off the ticket price.
Fantastic. Wow, There you go, boys and girls. Wicked, yes. Okay, well, what we'll do is we will put a link in the show notes, and if we get a voucher kind of thing sorted for this episode going out, then follow that link in the show notes. We'll put it up the top. If you're interested in going to All About Voice, just click on that link, put the code in, you save a bit of money on the tickets. And then for the 2 lucky people who will end up going there for free, what do you want to do? Should we do a Twitter situation? I see you've got a hashtag All About Voice on there.
Yeah, let's do that. It's a very good idea to share, to collect some ideas and maybe some thoughts on voice technology there, and maybe getting some crowd ideas for the conference, or for a specific topic. Do you have something in mind, maybe, that we can?
Well, why don't we say, using the hashtag AllAboutVoice on Twitter, all you need to do, send a tweet using the hashtag AllAboutVoice and answer the question, why is 2018 all about voice?
That's a very good one. Yeah. Perfect.
Why is it all about voice? Stick your answer on Twitter, use the hashtag AllAboutVoice, and Tim will pick a lucky winner. When do you want to do it? Next week? At the end of next week? At the end of the week after?
Yeah, that's good. Let's collect some participants over maybe 5 or 6 days. Let's do 5 days. from the point of time you publish this episode, and I will do a live video where we announce the winners.
Okay, that sounds good then. So, boys and girls, if you want to go to the All About Voice conference in Germany,
Yes.
in Munich, is it?
Munich.
Of course it's Munich. How could it not be in Munich? And the 12th of October, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the date.
So, 12th of October in Munich, All About Voice, 2 tickets if you use the hashtag All About Voice on Twitter and answer the question, why is it All About Voice in 2018?
So hello, my name is Mari, and I'm the CEO of Voice First Labs. And the main opportunity that I see for brands in the next 6 to 12 months is to experiment in the technology and to have the opportunity to be the first in the platform for your industry. And the good thing is this technology is not developer intensive, so you need a lot of creative power to differentiate yourselves in the platform, but you have the possibility to do that better now than ever. So that's my suggestion.
Hi, this is Advela Vin from Pretzel Labs. My main takeaway from this summit is the power of a community. This conference brought together so many people from different countries, different backgrounds, and different takeaways on voice. And I think what was super powerful is how collaborative and inclusive the space is, and how we can all push the space forward together. Trends I've been seeing this week as a designer were definitely multimodality. Will we be staying in a voice-only world? Would it be voice first or voice and of course, contextual design. Are we designing for a voice-enabled device in the home, in the car? What is the user's situation when they are interacting with our products?
Let's get back to the Voice Summit. Tim, we've mentioned your talk. Dustin, you were there as well. You gave a talk as well. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you were up to over there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I did a couple of different things. I moderated a panel on voice search. It ended up being a little bit more about voice SEO, so I let the rest of the panel speak a little bit more. And then my talk was on Thursday, also that final day like Tim's, and mine was on building voice-driven search. So if you have a mobile app or a mobile website or a voice application, how do you build search into there? How do you expand the body of things that people can look for, right? If I have 5 or 6 or maybe 7 things that someone can look for in a voice application, fine. You're going to use the Alexa or Dialogflow NLU. But if you need to search through 150,000 or 2 million products, it's not going to cut it. You're going to need to be able to build some tooling into the skill, into the experience that will be able to handle that. And then as well, one of the things that was a big, maybe surprise for me was the conference was so much about voice platforms. It was so much about Alexa, to be sure, though Google Assistant was there a lot as well. Not many people were speaking about voice on mobile, voice on televisions, voice in the car. It really was very speaker heavy, and I would have liked to see a little bit more on the mobile side, because I do think that still has a lot of legs.
So it was predominantly not looking at voice as in an interface that is going to be the interface of the future, so to speak, but it was predominantly focusing on smart speakers specifically then?
I think a little bit, and some of that may have just been, that's what's sexy today. And some of the things that people discussed certainly can apply to a different context. Though, for sure, yeah, the primary focus was on those voice-first speakers.
What are your thoughts on this one then, Dom, from a kind of voice as an interface perspective, and bearing in mind where we've kind of come from over the last 6 months, is we've seen, a really, really steep rise in the adoption of these voice-first smart speakers in particular. That Google has claimed quite a significant market share, 20-odd%, 25 or 6% now, and Amazon is selling millions of units. They reckon they've sold tens of millions of units on Prime Day. Do you think, from your perspective, that voice is predominantly about smart speakers, or do you think voice is a much bigger and wider thing?
Actually, I think you almost answered the question yourself. Voice, I think, is much more than only smart speakers and connected devices like we have now in the rise. I think it's just the early stages of a new technology that these devices are like priming the market at the moment. But voice will be huge in the future in terms, I think, in two aspects. Like one aspect will be that we will use voice a lot to control our environment, not only like using using voice for your smart home or talk to your devices, but also to doing regular information stuff and entertainment pleasure. And the other thing is discoverability and voice footprint. No, sorry again. And another aspect is search and discoverability with these new services, because the latest figures show that half of the search terms or the regular searches that are now done via Google will be done via voice within the next 2 years. So this will be a major shift in consumer attention, that people will not search by a type interface but by a voice interface, and that has some really good questions arising for brands and service companies that will be discovered or need to be discovered via voice in the future and in the near future.
Yeah, we see voice more also more as a platform or an ecosystem. I mean, everybody's talking nowadays about Alexa and Google Assistant. But one scenario we have in mind that could be maybe in a year or 2 or 3 is that you have these voice experiences and voice services, and you then choose like you choose your browser on your laptop, right? When you start your Windows or Windows computer for the very first time, you have to choose which browser you want to use for search and for browsing the web. So I think that you will exactly the same way choose in the future which assistant you like the most, and the structure behind it, or the data and all the functionalities are maybe the same. So that's our one of the scenarios that we think could be in the future, and you will talk to everything in the future, to your fridge, to your I don't know, to your toaster or cafe machine. Or
yeah, one thing I think to add in this perspective is I have been to a panel during the voice conference where some chip manufacturer showed us a nice tiny chip, I think in the range of 10 euros, where everything for Alexa ready device could be made within a really easy implementation. So I could think of, like Tim mentioned, the coffee machine or light switch, a smart light switch that has Alexa integrated already for additional 10 euros, and then your home and your environment will be easily connected and be controlled via voice. So you will have many smart speakers like we have known now over the past 6 months in our home, but they won't be separate devices. They will just be built in every single device that is powered by energy and can be waken up by voice with a small command.
Wow, that sounds phenomenal. That it's got one of the things that it's kind of been said over the last 6 months is, well, one day we'll be talking to our shower head and there'll be, you know, a smart speaker in your light switch and all this stuff. And it's like, you know, it's in theory, you can see that train of thought panning out like that. But there's always, at least for me at least, there's always been a bit of a lack of any examples of how that might even happen. But seemingly, if this, you know, if this manufacturer is making chips that are so small and so cheap that you can put them in anywhere, then I can kind of see that kind of happening fairly quickly, really.
Hi, I'm Bahubali Shetty. I'm the founder of Closure. We make cooking easier for the consumers. We are the ways of cooking.
Great. And so, what trends are you seeing here this week at the Voice Summit Conference?
I think the biggest trend I'm seeing is that the awareness about the voice marketing and voice commerce, which I hadn't seen in the general media otherwise, which we started working on quite some time back, but now it's catching up, which is good because the awareness brings a lot of market to us. We don't have to spend too much of marketing money for that. So that's a good trend.
Hi, this is Roger Kibbe of VoiceCraft, and what stood out for me in the show was, well, we all know it's fairly easy to create a simple voice application. The very best applications created by the top developers required an enormous amount of time, energy, and effort to get right, and many iterations to get right. Fortunately, design tools and design methodology are improving to make this better, but it's still harder to make a great voice application than a traditional UI application. As far as industries, you know, I think retail is where there's enormous opportunities. Merchants and marketers should be jumping into this and creating voice applications for their brands and reaching out to their customers. It's a whole new channel to explore. And what will we see in retail? Simple thing, the first $1,000 purchase done with voice is going to happen this year.
We know that people are using so let's take the smart speakers example, and I suppose we can extend that into mobile as well. We know that people are using their voice as an interface more. Certainly over the last 6 months it's been growing and growing and growing, and there's a new stat out and a new study out every week about, you know, the number of people who've tried purchasing something. I think there's something like 20% of people have tried purchasing something, I think I read on VoiceBot. So it's clear, and I can understand why there's business interest and why there were so many businesses at that kind of conference. And Dom, you'd mentioned one of the real important factors there around the rise of voice search, potentially accounting for 50% of searches in 2022. What were some of the other kind of key takeaways that brands will take away from this week? And thinking about the next kind of 6 months ahead, what are some of the real key takeaways that brands should be taking into consideration?
Yeah, I've been to another panel where some agencies talked about their experience and their perspective on voice and some projects they have already done with voice. And what I think they said unisono on this panel was that the brands shouldn't think in products anymore. Like if you are the brand Tide shouldn't think about their brand is Tide. They should rather think in categories what their brand can accomplish for customers using voice devices. So if I have a stain on my t-shirt, my first question would be, how can I remove the stain? It's not what can Tide do for me with the stain. So that's why they should build up categories, and that's what they actually did in this showcase, that they made up a category how to remove stains from different fabrics and different stains and with different difficulty and match them to their products that they already have out in the market. So they had the niche of removing stains from your clothes and not and then in the end, if they provided the correct answer, of course they can advertise Tide, and this will be the solution to remove your stain. But you don't come from Tide and advertise Tide as you did in TV and radio commercials in the past. You think of solving a problem, and then Tide will be the answer for that.
You mentioned Tide quite often.
Not sponsored yet.
It's all that time you've been spending in America over the last week.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean, Tim? When in your talk there was a slide at the very end around be the authority for questions and intents of your users. Is that kind of the point that you're getting at there around trying to own those conversations?
Yeah, that's absolutely that thing, because that's also one of the key takeaways from that panel that I just wrapped up in this one statement there. And the guy who said that was Will Hall from the Rain Agency, based in New York. And Dustin, I think you attended also his talk on Thursday. It was quite directly after my talk, and it's a very, very fresh perspective this guy has on the whole voice stuff, and he wrapped up like 3 statements as well, or 3 recommendations to brands. Like the first one was find your moment. I think like look at your customer journey and think in systems, and find the right connection between systems, and where can then voice be one touch point in your customer journey. And this interconnectivity between systems is key for the future. And the second one was be conversational. Yeah, that's obvious, but you have to keep that in mind. If you are not conversational, you have to consider if voice is the right platform, or you have to get conversational in the future. And the third one was win position 0. Yeah, and that's all about this discoverability of voice content, and that being the first, or the result number 0 is key in the future. And I mean, there will be a lot of losers out there, because I think at the moment the big companies are the winners there, because they are at result number 1 at the moment. But in the future, this might be the one who serves the best answer and is the authority for a specific question.
Yeah, I agree. I certainly heard a lot of that. I think that's a big takeaway that brands had from the week, is that you have to be position 0. You have to be the authority for a general search, which honestly, as a creator, quite worries me. That message, I think, gets us to a point that is very similar to general SEO, where all of a sudden you're creating content for searches, and not necessarily creating things that push the platform forward, that create these experiences that people are going to come back to again and again and again. Instead, you're creating these maybe short tail, maybe long tail query responses that are almost commodities at that point. And I think that was a real big takeaway that people had. I would hope, though, that some people came to the event as well and go, okay, right, we need to be position 0, but what can we do that gets us out of that entirely? What can we do where people don't need to find us through search results, but will come back to our voice application every single day or every single week? And we own that user.
So trying to get to the point of fighting for the attention as opposed to fighting to win that query.
A little bit, right? It's I think you can see this a little bit where people go directly to their favorite websites occasionally, but then you have, actually a perfect example is lyrics websites. You've got one website in particular, Genius, where they brought something to that space that would encourage people to go back there directly, right? Those annotations on genius.com are something that no other lyrics website has. Every other lyrics website is just how can we get search traffic, and you don't build up that retention, you don't build up that experience that really provides a lot of value when you're just, I think, targeting the search.
Yeah, and before we move on, Will Hall was on the podcast last week, and he does talk a lot of sense, so check out last week's episode if you want to hear more from Will. On the search thing, so Amazon released, so I think at the start of this year, one of the first episodes we did, we were talking about how discoverability is a problem and stuff like that. And then there's been a few things that I think Amazon have tried to do to help the discoverability problem. I found the other day that skills are being recommended in the Amazon app. If you actually search it in the shopping app, you might get a skill recommended, which is kind of cool. I think it's slightly mistimed, but on the discoverability and search thing, they did release the can fulfill intent thing, whereby if your skill has that and someone asks for something, like Dom, you mentioned about a stain or whatever, if you have the can fulfill intent enabled on any of your skills and someone asks for stain removing, then potentially Amazon will look for that and serve that skill instead. Have you worked on any skills that have used the can fulfill intent, and what's your sort of thoughts on it?
We did not yet, because as always, the German market is a few months behind every other market, or the US and UK market. But I think that's absolutely the right step in the right direction, to have it, to have the possibility to expose your main features there. And this is like this position zero thing is you have to focus on your expertise, and you have to focus on your main business, and have to strengthen your knowledge there and your position within this specific topic. I mean, there will be a lot of questions and a lot of zero positions in the future, millions and trillions. So there is a niche for everyone, and there are a lot of answers, or a lot of questions that are not answered at the moment by Google Assistant or Alexa, and there will be a spot for a lot of companies, not only the big companies, I'm sure. So we didn't implement can fulfill intent yet, but we definitely will in the future for all upcoming projects.
Cool. I think Amazon will probably have to work on, Dustin, you were mentioning there around people trying to just win search results rather than provide value or take the platform forward. And I think if you look at Google search as an example, I mean, Google, whenever it releases a new update, it penalizes quite heavily all of the sites that don't comply, you know. So things like, I think it was a few months back, or it might have even been a year ago or so now, if you don't have HTTPS certificates on your site, then there's a potential that you're not going to get quite as high rankings. There was a big push when mobile became a standard, that Google would kind of deprioritize any site that wasn't a mobile optimized site. Keyword stuffing was quite quickly kind of stamped out. So it'd be interesting to see where Amazon takes it over the next kind of year or two, when people start using these can fulfill intents and trying to win position zero, in terms of being able to vet the quality of that one answer, because the quality of that one answer is absolutely imperative if you've only got one choice, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to get some angry emails from SEOs, I'm sure. But, I mean, they're just trying to do their job, right? They're trying to get their customers or get their companies to get as much search traffic as possible. But you're exactly right. When you have just one result, and when 50% of searches are going to be through voice, which I think every presentation this week was required to have that stat at some point, when that happens, the competition there is going to be intense, and you're going to have people who are going to look for shortcuts. And Amazon and Google as well are going to need to figure out ways on their platforms to make sure that anything that does come up is going to be very useful for anyone who uses it.
All right. Just for the record, I'm here with Brian Lacey, Chief Executive Officer at Mobomo.
That's correct.
All right. And I wanted to ask you, which industry is, in your opinion, very promising for facing business opportunities in the voice ecosystem?
Okay, for us, it's the federal government. They have tons of information that the general populace can get to. Right now, there's kind of some barriers to make that easy for them to find. And with a voice platform, they can quickly ask exactly what they need, and voice can provide it to them instantly. So we view that as a really nice greenfield area to give the best experience to the general populace.
Okay, it's kind of more or better discoverability of content, right?
And a better interaction with your government, that you can actually get this kind of information as fast and quick as possible. And it also kind of really just leapfrog over accessibility issues because, you don't have to deal with 508 kind of compliance, but it's immediately, you can kind of hear what the answer is, and it can guide you to what you need to know.
You mentioned you kind of wrote a decent article, Dustin, summarising day one, and I just wanted to we'll wrap up in a minute with some of the other speakers and what we kind of learned from those. But there's a couple of interesting things in the write up that you kind of put together, and we'll put the link in the show notes. One was that skill engagement has risen by 50% over the last year, and you had some queries around what that means, didn't you?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that meant on a per user basis. So your average user is using skills 50% more than the average user a year ago, or if that was overall numbers. The sort of scary thing, if it's an overall number, is that the number of users overall who are using Alexa has grown more than 50%, I believe, since last year. And as third-party developers, as third-party skill developers especially, we want to see that skill engagement grow. So that's my big question is skill engagement actually not growing as quickly as the overall market? And if not, what are Amazon and perhaps Google has the same problem? What are they going to do to encourage third-party skill development and skill engagement?
And the other thing was that one of the stats was that anything from 3 to 6% is a decent retention rate, which I found was interesting. Like Dom and Tim, from the skills and stuff that you've built, and from the brands and stuff that you've worked with, have you been working on kind of like repeat usage skills, or have you been working quite a lot on sort of like one-off interactions or kind of interspersed interactions?
Of course, we are thinking of having more engaging skills, and that means returning users that will use the skill more often and in a deeper interaction way that used to be when we started off with the company. So this is for sure one point we have to consider when building skills. And I think in the end, if you build skills, it makes sense that they would be skills that have a deep interaction and could be used on multiple occasions and solve problems for a user in multiple ways. So I think that's the way to go, to have engaging skills. And especially for brands, they need to have engaging skills that are not one-show-offs or campaigns. Think more on products and services for your customers than campaigns like you did with banner ads and all this stuff.
And from our projects we did in the past, we had some surprises there, I would say, because there's no guarantee that if you do a skill and you think it won't be used very often, it could be that people are using it more often than you expected. And we see this for example with our own skills we are developing. We have some sound stuff out there, and we see a static rise in engagement. And I think we thought that you will use it maybe 1 or 2 times, and then you know everything you wanted to know. And it's been used very, very, very often. And we have attended also the game panel that has been hosted by Florian Holland, also one of the guests of your podcasts, and there. Adva Levin from Pretzel Labs told us that her kids court skill is used also very, very often, and it has a very narrow use case. The thing is it's not a casual game that you can play around for like 20 times a day. And she told us that people are using it for an hour or 2, and very, very often, and just a lot of returning users there, and that's quite interesting that you might, we'll see in the future that your expectations won't meet, and that people are using your skill more often than you think.
And actually, what my impression is that, like, if you compare it to the early days of the web, like in the 90s, when everything came out, people would only research and go online like twice a week to find out something that they were looking for. And then it took another like 5 or 10 years that people really interacted with web pages, where they started chatting or using forums and exchanging knowledge, or putting their information online and connecting to other people. And I think this is one point that might happen with voice as well. People now have a new interface that they haven't learned to use or how to use, and new interactions just need to evolve over time. And another thing I think which is really important that I saw in another talk with where David Ibitsky gave his keynote speech from Amazon, and he said kids' skills are the fastest growing skill segment at the moment. So they are seeing double features month over month in growth rates. And that's why I think that kids' skills for entertainment or education are really a good use case for parents that want to restrict screen time for their kids, and now they can use skills that are they're mostly focused on voice entertainment to give the kids some screen-free time to play around. And that's why we also move a lot in the games markets. We've researched some projects with the publishing company that does games for kids, and they own a lot of major kids brands from Disney and characters that need to be transferred to voice-enabled experience for kids as well.
That sounds exciting. Yeah, I did see that the kids' skills seem to be growing absolutely wildly at the minute. I'm conscious we've kind of overrun a little bit. Just to kind of wrap up, I'm hoping that we can kind of look to the future over the next kind of 6 months, and there's kind of a threefold question: one for the brands, one for the kind of creatives and designers, and one for the developers and the techies. Based on where we've been over the last 6 months, based on what you've learned at the Voice 18 event last week, and based on your general experience over the last kind of 6 months, starting with brands and on the strategy side, we've covered a couple of things there around being the number one sort of like search result or search result zero, whatever. But what's the main kind of takeaways that you can tell brands to focus on over the next 6 months? What's the most important thing that they can do over the next 6 months?
I would recommend to see which business opportunities are there in the future, and Amazon is now trying, and Google as well is trying to publish and release a way to do purchases via voice. So you should be ready to sell your content or products or make them purchasable. Is that a word? I don't know. So
that sounds like a word. Yeah, I'll go with that. Yeah,
via voice as well. Okay, great. And but don't wait too long for it. So don't wait until it's there. Try to do your first steps right now, and try to you have to know the technology before you can make money out of it. And the reach is growing. We have seen that multiple times in different stats from VoicePod, and you have to be aware of it. So that's for brands. I think there will be business models in the future, and you will have that return on investment at least in 2019. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what would you recommend designers and creatives? What should they be focusing on over the next 6 months? Dom, what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, creative designers. As I mentioned before, I think it's really important to think in categories and not in products anymore. So think of the niche you can place your product in voice, and try to be top of mind in the discoverability and search in these terms. And I think that's really important.
Mm-hmm. And then finally, Dustin, what about the techies and the developers? What should they be focusing on over the next 6 months?
I think really just building as much as they can. Get out there, build experiences, see what other people aren't doing, right? And make mistakes. This platform, this way of thinking, this way of interacting is not going away. And so you're going to make bad things in the beginning. So go ahead and do it now so that when this becomes even more entrenched, you're building amazing things that really push the entire industry forward.
Yeah, I think I have to add one thing here to the discussion. We've been on the podcast, on the Twitch cast with Memo Döring, and I think I said it there, and I'd like to stress it out once more. I think we are a big community and a family, so I think we all should share our knowledge. And if you are stuck with a problem or think this is wrong, just reach out to someone else. I think we all made these mistakes before, and we can learn from the mistakes we made before. And as a community, everybody's friendly. I have met everybody wants to share their knowledge, and I think it's just a matter of reaching out and getting in touch, and then share what you have done, and you share your best practices that everybody can profit in this industry in the future.
Absolutely, that's a good closing thought. That I think that's my reflection over the last 6 months is first and foremost from the industry side of things, in terms of the voice industry and the people that are involved in it, and the people who are kind of doing this stuff on a daily basis like yourselves. Is I'm kind of absolutely overwhelmed with how much of a community there is, and how much people are willing to share their knowledge, how much people are willing to share their time, share their experiences, and try and help everybody get better and to create better stuff. It's everyone's in it with passion, and everyone wants to see this technology succeed, and it's been absolutely, the first 6 months of this year have been unbelievable. And thanks to all the listeners who've been listening. Thank you to all the guests that we've had. Thank you, Dom and Tim, for joining us today, and Dustin, thank you for being involved since more or less from the very beginning. It's been absolutely fantastic, and I'm really, really looking forward to the next 6 months. So thank you, Tim. Thank you, Dom, for joining us. Thank you, Dustin, for joining us as well. It's been immense.
Yeah, thanks
so much,
guys. Have a good one.
Thanks for having us.
And if you are in the market for a voice experience, or a voice app, or Alexa skill, or Google Action, then I'm sure you can give 169 Labs a shout. Guys, where can people reach out to you if they want to get involved building some voice applications, or where can they follow you lot online?
Go to our website 169labs.com, reach out on Twitter at 169labs, or at Kahle from my personal Twitter account, and let's get in touch, and let's talk about your opportunities in the future of voice, and we are happy to help and try to build outstanding voice experience
and
together.
Use the hashtag #AllAboutVoice hashtag on Twitter, and answer the question, why is 2018 all about voice, for 2 tickets, the chance to win 2 tickets to the All About Voice conference on the 12th of October in Munich in Germany. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kane.
That was Tim Kahle and Dominik Meißner of 169 Labs. Thanks for joining us, chaps. I think that was a really good summary of the voice event and the year so far. The main takeaway for me really out of that is just how much attention brands are starting to now put in the voice space. I think the next 6 months is going to see that continue. There'll be an influx of interested brands and interested parties trying to take a slice of this early voice pie. And if you are interested in getting to grips with voice first strategy and understanding how you can approach this space and the best ways to go about it, then you can join me on YouTube every Friday for the voice board sessions. That's going to be starting this coming Friday, and every Friday after that we're going to be getting into detail on one specific area of voice first strategy every week. So head over to the YouTube channel now and you can subscribe there, and we're going to do this. It's going to be me with a whiteboard and a marker pen. Well, not a marker pen because I won't be able to get it off the whiteboard, but a whiteboard pen. And we're going to be having a look at voice strategy and the bits and pieces that you can do to start implementing voice first initiatives. Thank you again, Dom and Tim, for joining me. Thank you, Dustin, for co-hosting, and thank you all for listening. Until next week, see you later.